Hey everybody, it's Dan from Kitsap CrossFit. While some of you may know that at the beginning of October, Kitsap CrossFit celebrated its 12th year as a CrossFit affiliate. Many of you may not know the actual Kitsap CrossFit origin story. So I thought I would take a couple of minutes and officially share that story with you. So as I said, we've been an affiliate for just over 12 years now. So my wife Amy and I started Kitsap CrossFit in 2009. But of course, our beginnings in CrossFit started a little bit prior to that. In 2007, I was a physical therapist in the Navy, and I was assigned to the USS John C. Stennis, an aircraft carrier that was based out of here in Bremerton, Washington. And in 2007, we did a 7.5-month deployment. And at that time, I had never heard of CrossFit, and my activity was swimming, biking, and running. My wife and I were heavily involved in triathlons, marathons, things like that. So while we were out to sea on deployment, on a regular basis, I was running somewhere between 30 to 50 miles a week on a treadmill, spending 3 or 4 hours a day on a spin bike. While I was surrounded by water, of course, I couldn't go for a swim. Occasionally I would go to the gym on the ship and do a little bit of weightlifting, but that certainly wasn't a big priority for me. And the weightlifting I did looked nothing like the stuff that we do now. At any rate, interestingly enough, while I was on that deployment, one of our nurses said to me, "Hey, have you heard of CrossFit? You should check it out. I think you'd like it." And I had no idea what it was. So of course I looked it up. I saw it, I saw the website, looked at it, and I thought, I don't know what any of this stuff is, and I don't know how it's going to help me with my swimming, biking, and running. So I sort of poo-pooed it, and I just continued doing my thing. Well, another activity that I got involved in on the ship was doing what was called EOD workouts. And the EOD workouts were group workouts that were led by our explosive ordnance disposal team. Those are the guys and gals that go out and defuse and detonate bombs. And when they're out on the ship, one thing they do is they work out a lot. And they would invite the crew to join them on the hangar bay. And on a daily basis, they would lead these hour-long, basically they were just calisthenic beatdowns, like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, 8-count bodybuilders, which is basically like a slower version of a burpee. And we would just grind away on the hangar deck for an hour doing these workouts. And like I said, it was a group environment, so there was this sort of a shared suffering aspect of it. And I kind of dug it. I thought it was kind of cool. When I came home from deployment, I was telling Amy about these EOD workouts, and I said, you know, it sort of makes me want to open a gym. I'd like to do something sort of like that, and I would like to be able to involve families and just do something like that. And I didn't really have a complete vision of what it was, but I told her that it was something that I wanted to do. We moved to San Diego immediately upon my return from deployment, and as soon as I got to San Diego, all I heard was CrossFit, CrossFit, CrossFit. All the Marines that I was working with would say, "Hey sir, have you heard of CrossFit? Hey sir, I'm doing CrossFit, 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 CrossFit." I was like, oh man, there's that thing that I heard about before, but I don't know what it is. And being the good physical therapist that I was, I thought, you know what, I better look into this stuff, because one of these Marines is going to get hurt doing this stuff, and I kind of want to know what they're doing. So I looked, and it just so happened that there was a CrossFit affiliate a mile from my house. And so I came home one day and I was telling Amy about it, and I said, you know, there's a gym a mile away from here, and they offer a free trial class. Would you like to go try it with me? And she said, yeah, sure. Fortunately, she never looked it up. She didn't Google it. She had no idea what she was walking into, which is probably good, because had she looked, she probably would have said, no way, I'm not doing that. But she was pretty open-minded. She said, yeah, let's go try this thing. So we show up at Oceanside CrossFit, and Laura and Jeff, who are the owners. Laura Patefield, who many of you know as she was a coach here for a while, and her brother, Jeff Garumba, welcomed us in, and then proceeded to kick our butts. I mean, I thought I was in pretty good shape because I was a triathlete, and these guys basically just handed it to us. And so that was kind of an eye-opener. And as we were driving home, I asked Amy, I said, well, what did you think of that? And I was kind of prepared for her to say, I'm never doing that again. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, I think I want to give it a shot. So that was December of 2007. Amy proceeded to sign up for their sort of their on-ramp fundamentals program. And because we had a young daughter at home, Piper, I stayed home with Piper while Amy did her fundamentals, or on-ramp, whatever you want to call it. And then in the beginning at January of 2008, I was able to go and start my fundamentals. So our start in CrossFit started in 2007, 2008. And one of the things that struck us right away about Oceanside CrossFit, it was a tiny little gym at the time, but they had such a tight-knit community. Like, everyone was so welcoming. We'd walk in to this thing that we didn't really know what it was, and people would just sort of swallow us up, and they would show us the warm-up, and they would just guide us along. And you could just tell that it was a place that people enjoyed being, and they were having a lot of fun. And it wasn't more than about 2 weeks into that experience that I looked at Amy and I said, do you remember that thing I was telling you about that I wanted to do? Remember that idea, that fitness thing that I wanted to do? I think this is it. I think this is the thing. And so she looked at me and she's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. And yeah, well, here we are. So that was, like I said, January of 2008. By May of 2008, I had gone to my level 1. And by November, I went to my level 2, which was sort of a mistake. I realize now that was a little bit too soon. But I got my level 2 certificate in November of 2008. And then in 2009, I separated from the Navy, and we moved up here in August. Got possession of this space in September of 2009, and in October, beginning of October, is when we had our first paying clients. We started with 0 clients, although we did have 2 old college friends of ours, Chris and Brandy, who were officially our first 2 members. Not only were they our first 2 members, but they helped us set up the space. They really helped us kind of do everything and get started. And they would eventually go on to become our business partners. They were our business partners for about 3.5 years, and they have since moved on, and they are now the owners of Bainbridge Island CrossFit. They opened that one and are doing very well on Bainbridge Island. So, you know, when we opened, the biggest thing in my mind was, I want to replicate what we had down in Oceanside, California. I want to replicate not just the gym, not just the workouts, but that sense of community. I wanted to replicate a place where people really wanted to be, where people supported each other and genuinely got excited to see other people have success. And I feel like, and I've been told, that we have done a pretty good job of replicating that sense of community. Something that I've learned, though, over the 12 years of gym ownership is that that sense of community and camaraderie, it's not a destination. It's a journey, and it's a never-ending journey, which means that we have to constantly cultivate that sense of community. We have to constantly cultivate our culture and make sure that that's something that we never lose and never forget. Regardless of how big we get, regardless of what accolades we receive, working on that culture, working on that sense of community is something that we're always going to be striving to not just maintain, but constantly improve upon. So that's it. You know, that's the story, as they say. 12 years ago, we moved up from California back up to Paulsbo with essentially zero members, in a recession, and said, this is our passion. This is something that we want to do. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and Amy to everyone who's a member here, everyone who has been a member here, folks who have contributed in so many ways. We couldn't realize this thing without all of your support. So thank you. It's been an amazing 12 years, and we look forward to continuing this thing, changing lives through fitness. Firmly believe in this idea of fitness through community and community through fitness. So again, thanks for being a part of it.